can hear me. I'll just give a restream a second here to catch up into the YouTube console. I'm sure you can hear me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is just me from the 3D Make It side of things today. Greg's off doing something. So, if you haven't already, and you are a Patreon, check out the Discord or the Patreon web portal, and you can get the link to join the live stream and restream. And we'll bring in some of our patrons that have already joined now, but I'm just really gonna quickly do our thing that we always do. So, um, we'd like to thank these people. Hopefully, it's not mirrored on your side. Let's check it out. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. That's definitely mirrored. Hold on. I'm gonna fix this mirroring problem, and I'm gonna say hi properly. Stupid restream. Good morning, Stig. There we go. Now it's a proper thank you. That's front ways. So thank you everybody on this list here. Super important to us. Thanks out to the top there. But you guys make all the background things happen that would not work without it, like web pages and that stuff. So thanks. Yeah, I fixed the mirroring. It was crazy. So we got like I said, we got some of our patrons. We got some topics. We've done our welcome and thanks. So we'll welcome Dominic to the stream right now, and anybody else that wants to join. Dominic, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Pretty good.
Nice. Good, good, good. So,
Thursday today.
yeah. Dominic's on his iPad, so every now and again you might hear a hiccup, but it's working pretty good. So, yeah, there's a couple things that I kind of had planned to talk about. So like this can go out to if you're in the YouTube chat or if you're in the Restream chat. I'll get Discord open here too, just so I can see all three of them. Why not, right? Um, the first is more of a general question, and it follows along the line of like, and I know the answer from Dominic already because we're just talking about it, but it follows along the line of slicers that we actually use. So I mean, Dominic, what's your daily driver?
Karen, I'm still with it.
Hmm.
Um, uh, um, just because that's what I'm familiar with, slicer.
Hmm.
But I find that it's like to go with
Hmm.
Prusa because there's an interpretation.
Hmm.
It would be really nice if there was a, a kind of lexicon. I would buy that if it would like translate between Prusa and Kira and
Hmm.
all the other
Yeah.
slicers.
Yeah, like a definition kind of this is what this means and this is what this means. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are cutting out a little bit, Dominic. Just I don't think there's anything you can do about it, but I'm just letting you know you're a
Okay.
little cut out. So if I repeat what you just said, it's because I want to get the point across there. Yeah, for sure. Kira's great. We actually like on our side, we actually did a workshop this week, or I think it was this week, maybe it was the week before, but we did a workshop where we had we had um, about 15 printers go through, and it was kind of interesting because we did show, like as we always do, Kira and Prusa, but nobody liked Kira. Absolutely nobody was using Kira by the end of the workshop. And it's not like when we go into the workshops, we're like, hey, here's this great slicer, Prusa slicer, and here's Kira. If you want to attain it. No, we're pretty we're pretty fair when we present them. So it was interesting to see that lots of people preferred like the menu style in Prusa, and I have it here. I'll probably bring it up in a second. Um, but I think from my standpoint, almost everything's Kira that or sorry, Prusa that I do. And then if I needed those tree supports before, it was back to Kira. But we were just talking to the alpha is out for 2.6, and that's been out for a while. But it does have tree support in it, and I forget what Stig uses actually. Stig, what do you use for slicer? Um, but as we wait and for Stig to put the answer in there, there's another consideration about our slicers, and this one's more immediate, shall we say, and that is clipper support. So, like we've been doing our Marlin. I think we did five live streams of Marlin, which was sweet. But we're moving on to Clipper, and it's probably going to be next week, I do believe. So we're moving on to Clipper. And fun fact, Kira does not have Clipper support. So Kira, as a slicer, does not have Clipper support. So I'm just going to share a screen here. And we'll pop into the screen. There we go. I like how it makes us small automatically. I'm not sure if you muted yourself, Dominic. I kind of feel like you might have on your end. But I have no audio coming from you right now.
Yeah, I muted myself.
Okay, cool. But this is Kira, right? And I'm not gonna go like into like a whole spiel demo kind of thing because that's not the point of today's stream. We're just hanging out. But I will show you. So like if we open Kira, I mean we've all seen the printer menu. So if we wanted to like add another printer, we could pick one and yada yada yada. But once you added the printer, if you go into a printer you've added and manage the printer, and this screen's available in the setup wizard as well. So, but then we go machine settings, and then you go here and you go doop, and you can see we have Marlin, RepRap, Ultimaker, Griffin, MakerBot, Bytes from Bytes, Mach 3, which is actually pretty cool. We'll come back to that one. And Repeatier. Do you guys use Repeatier? Have you ever used Repeatier? No? We got Raymond in the chat. Good morning, Raymond.
Good morning. How are you?
It's good. Welcome. But yeah, there's no Clipper by default. I'm gonna say that because I know Raymond knows that you can trick Kira to use Clipper, but by default, there's no Clipper as a firmware option. Now, the one I was like, I'll come back is this Mach 3. I don't know. Does anybody do any work with CNC machines? Like CNC routing or that kind of roboting? Mach 3 is a firmware for CNC machines. So technically, you could put a CNC in Mach 3 and then get Kira to post-process the G-code for a CNC machine. So that's kind of neat. But if I were to be fair and if I were to open Prusa Slicer here, come on, get in the window. And then we go into Prusa Slicer, printer settings. And then if we look at the G-code flavor, now this is 2.52. Also, no Clipper. Okay, but we do have Mach 3 again. So we can do some basic stuff for, like I said, CNCs in both, but not Clipper by default. I'm throwing out by default because we all know that you can make slicers work with Clipper quite easily. The Slick 3R, or not Slick 3R, Super Slicer, that's the one. It does work. What do you use, Ray, with your Clipper machines?
Kira mostly.
Nice. Now, there's something cool coming down the pipe. And then, let's just discard that. So, I was reading the Prusa Alpha notes, and they actually built in 2.6.0 Alpha, and then when the release comes, Clipper's in there by default in Prusa Slicer. So I can't see Kira being like too far behind with default support, but it's just food for thought as we move into the next Clipper section of the firmware stuff as we do it, is that technically neither of them natively support Clipper, which is interesting.
What's the fallout in Kira if you don't place it from Marlin, then run it on a Clipper machine?
Okay. I think this is your
What was that?
question. Like, okay, you broke up quite a bit, but I think your question was like, what would happen if you throw like a slice from Kira that was set in Marlin onto a Clipper machine? I think that's what you're kind of asking. Um, and I mean, it depends what G code is sent, obviously. So most of the G codes and stuff are similar, so they should work, but there are a few differences between the two printers. And like an example would be auto bed leveling. So if you're to auto bed level in like a normal Marlin, it would be G29 and you'd be done. Now I think Clipper caught up now, right, Ray? Or do you know
Yes.
with the auto bed leveling, do you still have to use the whole function?
Like the
Of,
bed mesh?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so there's a few more G code commands that go into like meshing your Clipper firmware. So like in that case, if the printer doesn't know the command, Dominic, it would just ignore it.
Yeah.
Right. So if the controller doesn't know what the heck you're talking about, you might see an ACK in the console, just going unknown command, and it'll keep going. But like it won't stop your print unless there was a fun thing with Repeatier back in the day in Marlin 1.9 or 8, where the Repeatier actually had similar G code, but not quite. And there was a command, I forget what it was, but it would halt your print if you sent Marlin G code to a Repeatier printer.
It was a kill command. I
Yeah, and
remember
it's
that.
yeah, and it was pretty funny because everybody was freaking out because they're like, "Oh, my Repeatier, it's not working." Um, and like to give perspective, Repeatier was kind of it's a slicer and a printer host, so it'd be actually akin to like the way Fluid interacts with Clipper, but then integrate like a slicer to that whole process. Um, like your Kira. It was probably closer to Kira, I think, for the definitions, like we were talking about before with Dominic. Like the actual like terminology is wall, right? Not or perimeter versus wall and that kind
Wall.
of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So the the vernacular was there, but it's interesting. And like I said, the Prusa Slicer GitHub does have Clipper support listed for their next release, where the Kira one does not yet. But Kira is also becoming a little harder to follow some of the GitHub stuff with it, like the releases. Since some of the features are behind the paywall now, there's some of the trying to put it elegantly. There's some things that you just won't know about anymore, and that's fine. They can do what they want because they own Kira, right? I'm not going to say a company that owns something can't work with it. That would be crazy. But yeah, so the latest version of Kira is 5.3.1, and they don't have any Clipper. I'm just checking. No. So there was no native Clipper support in 5.3.1. I think we might see it soon. I think Prusa Slicer is doing it because they're planning on supporting Clipper
Right.
on their boards. So that's probably why we have a Prusa Slicer.
Same
But
as the bamboo one, I think, is going to be Clipper as well.
yeah,
Only because they have the profile in there for the Voron.
yes, yeah, yeah. Because if I mean, as soon as you support the Voron or Esk, yeah, they'd have to
Yeah.
in their Slicer. I mean, have to's a a
Strong
threatening
word.
word,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, if you're gonna have a Slicer and add those printers in, you're gonna have to at least have a bare minimum support.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, we have almost a Dominic back. There he is, and he's back. All right.
I can't figure out what's on.
Is it all crashing and dying on you?
It kind of died out for at
Uh,
least a few minutes.
oh, that's weird. I mean, we still hear you, but yeah, the audio is stretched, shall we say. But you got any cool projects happening up there, Ray? Any any
No, not
printing?
really. Nothing.
Just
Just I was at a market yesterday,
yeah.
so I was printing stuff for the market for the last 2 weeks, but
Mm.
I haven't been doing the. I don't have a big project on the go at the moment.
Is the market just kind of like a flea market idea? Like you just have
That's
your
a
table
community
and
market.
hmm.
So all that's there, it's not really a flea market per se. You don't have people selling their used items. It's
Yeah.
more of a market where there'll be Tupperware and that kind of stuff there.
Ah, okay, okay. So that kind of thing. That's still fun. Still fun.
It's actually a better market for selling 3D printed stuff than a flea market is.
Oh, I bet. Like what kind of prints do you bring or stuff that you
It varies. I did some. I should have brought one up, but I did some emojis. And what I did
Okay.
was I turned them round into for potted plants
Okay, that's kind of cool then. Yeah.
for Mother's Day, right?
Yeah.
Because the sale was more slated for kids and Mother's Day stuff.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet. Actually, that's
So
really sweet.
so I designed about 3 or 4 different ones, and then we put some succulent plants in them.
Oh, okay. So you sold it was the whole kit and caboodle there.
Exactly. So the market, like I said, was slated for Mother's Day and for kids. So kids got an hour and a half to be at the market before the adults were allowed in there.
Oh, that's cool too. So they could
So yes, they can come in and they can shop with their dad or
yeah.
or grandparents a lot of times.
Oh, that's
So they
cool.
can pick things up, and then we did some pendants that the
Mm,
kids could paint.
yeah.
So we printed them in white, and then we gave them 3 colors of paint and paintbrushes so they can paint them themselves.
Oh, that's really sweet then. So you had like a little bit of the arts and crafts going on
Yeah,
for them there, and then you got. I imagine you moved quite a few of the emo bit or the emoji
quite
flower.
quite a quite a few. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But the biggest thing that moved was the fidget cubes.
Mm. Are those like the square ones on
Yeah.
Thingiverse? Yeah. Those are pretty cool. Do you print them all at home or?
Oh no, it's all printed at home.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's 7 machines here that I can use. So
I've got two Dominics and I don't know which one's which. One sec. Yeah, I'm the same way when I start like I haven't done a huge print off, but like we did a run of brackets for work not long ago, and yeah, it was better to use the 7 machines that I had here to do it and just like make them by filament than you know go. I mean, we have a few. We have 5 machines at work, but I'm not at work all night. I know that's a shocker, but I don't sleep there. I prefer to come home between. But that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, Mother's Day is coming up too, which reminds me I have to make some house numbers for a couple people too. Bylaws, I tell you.
yeah.
Oh, it's good times. I've had mine up. So I 3D printed house numbers 6, 7 years ago now. Haven't touched them, and like the darker color obviously is like concaving in now a little bit because of the heat, but the white color of the numbers is still popping. And anybody that tells you PLA is biodegradable and it just happens, yeah.
Yeah. It's biodegradable in about 100 years,
A
but
hundred
yeah.
years, yeah. It's warpable in about 30 minutes, but biodegradable in 100 years.
Yeah.
Now, I had another quick ask about like dry box situations everybody's using. I know that some people here are in very humid areas of the world and some aren't, but like, I see, actually, I could ask Ray, but I see a stack of boxes behind him. But do you use dry box for your filament or do you just box them up?
Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna say I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Mine's very similar to that.
I got
Dominic?
four more. I got four more under the cupboard.
Well, you work at a printing shop. You have the same problem I did when I worked at a Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Everything comes home. Do you use a dry box at all, Dominic? Or
I keep everything in plastic bags, but I'm in Chicago.
yeah,
Although Chicago can be humid sometimes, it's not horrible. I am concerned that I may be moving to Florida, which may become an issue
mm,
because it's pretty damp down there. But like I just use keep my PLA in plastic.
yeah,
Pet G, I put that in those vacuum bag things.
mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
remember, but I use that, and I have an absolutely awful dryer, the one that was made by who was it?
Isan made one.
Yeah, it's the one that they had a Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about now. It's very similar to the Isan one. Like
Yeah,
it just
absolutely. It doesn't get hot enough. It gets up to like I don't know something really silly like um, about 20 degrees
yeah.
cooler than it should be.
Yeah, I mean to dry filament properly, you should be close to the transition temperature.
Yeah, it's nowhere close.
Yeah.
Like 50 degrees.
And like I know Ray and I are lucky because it turns out Alberta is dry.
Yeah.
A lot like we've got to put that into perspective. I don't know how many wildfires are burning, but there's like 4 different evacuation orders and in Alberta, but it's really dry. Like I can leave filaments sitting on top of my dry box, much like Ray has behind him
Yeah.
there. Well, there's still more room. I'm just gonna leave it on top of the box.
Yeah.
Um, and then like the other fun thing, and Greg and I've talked about before, is to like recharge my desiccant packs. I just throw them in the microwave, and then you can recharge. Just don't cook them because they do pop
Yeah.
eventually. So like give it like a 50 or 45 seconds, which is really about 10 seconds left because of the magnetron spinning up. But Stig says he has the similar containers to Ray, which makes sense. He's a little bit humid out there. Even if it is humid in the summer, I haven't had any problems with moisture or filament, but then again, I use PLA and PETG. That's an interesting comment. I pulled a roll of PETG out of one of my dry boxes, and it looks like it's the exact same ones you have with those like blue seals, Ray.
Blue seals. Yeah.
And so I pulled the PETG out and started printing with it, and it was like nothing but hissing and popping and like just angry at me. Pulled another roll, older roll out of the same box, and it was fine. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, what's going on here, right? Like, PLA generally, I don't have a lot of problems with moisture, not too much.
I don't know
It's
that I've ever had a real problem with moisture in PLA. As a matter of fact, I found that every time, like sometimes if the PLA gets uh, is, real brittle,
Yeah.
if I put it in a dryer, it gets more brittle than it was before I put it in. Yeah, it's like so I
Hey,
quit trying PLA.
are you sure you didn't put it in the washing machine?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's actually a particular brand, and I won't mention names because I haven't used them in a while, and I don't know if they're still the same. But it's a brand that's all they're up here in Canada, and I opened when I first opened it, I was really impressed with how tough and strong it was, and it printed really good. But then after 6 months, I can't find a place on the filament that just doesn't
yeah.
snap, And like I've taken off like probably 60 meters, and it's still just popping in half. And um, so if you have a print, like the only way I can use it is if I use like uh, s- a direct drive like the Sprite that it feeds straight down into without a lot of like if it were to go through a Bowden tube curl, it would be done.
Yeah.
Like it'll break in the middle. There's no way it would print. But the problem is even the print that comes out is so brittle. Like it just it crumbles in your hand. It's like it's almost like a brass fill. And I do know they use fills in that filament too, here and there, additives to make it stronger. So it's just kind of one of those things. It was a little bit weird. Um, so I guess I could say I've had one filament, and I'm not sure if it's the lack of moisture or too much moisture that it just snaps and pops. But PLA is generally pretty good,
Yeah, I find
especially
I have more problems with my PLA than my PET G. My
yeah.
PET G lives in my basement where it's cool and it's
hmm
not in a container.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's actually a really good point too. Like the cool, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's 60 degrees out, or like I guess what was the hottest last summer? 45 degrees Celsius, which is hold on, I know this math. So for our American friends, it's 113 degrees Fahrenheit. So that was about like our average peak last year when we got up there, and that's actually pretty close to destroying your PLA,
Yeah.
right? Like that's pretty close to, because technically the transition for PLA can start around 50 degrees. So like if it were upstairs or out in your garage in that heat, like so I have five printers, six out in my garage, but I only ever leave the spool that's printing out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything else is like inside in the air conditioning, which keeps it like dry and usable for sure. But it's I don't know, like lots of people do you have a outlet line from those boxes, Ray, or that you just throw them into store and they're not like a printable, or you can't print from your dry box is what I'm getting at.
Not those ones, no. But what I do have, it's on the other side. I have a dehydrator that I developed.
hmm
It's got sides in it, plus a
Yeah.
lazy Susan in the inside, so I can print straight out of that.
Oh, nice. So if you're doing, well, not too much nylon, I'm sure, but if you're doing something super
Yeah,
hygroscopic, yeah,
yeah, it works well. I set the temperature on that one at about 55 degrees,
yeah.
and I'll put a roll of filament in there overnight. I wake up the next morning, and the stuff just prints like butter.
See, and that's the way it should be. Like, and that's the comment Dominic had about his. It was like, this isn't very good. Was it the print dry one, Dominic? Is that what you?
I just remembered it's the Sunlu.
Sunlu.
Sunlu. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So like print dry is actually pretty good. They've been around for a while. Yeah, Sunlu, filler driver. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The I don't know. Do you still carry the eSun ones up at Spool Ray? The little one?
We have a couple, but we also have the Creality has one now as well.
Okay. And does that one work pretty good?
Basically, they're all the same, honestly.
Yeah.
What I like about the Creality one is got a timer, so you can turn the timer up to 8 hours
Mm.
and it'll turn off, right?
What's the temperature inside? Like, what can it get
I
to?
think it's 55.
Yeah, so that's perfect for PLA.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? It will probably work for PETG too.
yeah,
I don't think it would get your ABS dry in there.
not quite.
But like ABS is a pretty um, robust filament, I guess you could say. Doesn't like water, so it doesn't collect it.
Yeah, I've never had problems with ABS being dry.
No, I've had problems with it printing properly.
Yeah, me too. But there's a brand, same brand you were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
that the customer had a couple rolls of it that was ABS, and they
Mm,
could not print with that.
yeah,
So I threw it in my dehydrator. It was in
yeah.
there for 3 days before it would print properly.
Jeez. Like I think we both know why that is with their filament too.
Yeah,
I think it's because of the location it ships from.
Yeah.
It's already. I remember the first few rolls of that I got. Like it came in a a vacuum seal bag,
Yeah.
but there's air in it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. So I was like, oh, this isn't gonna work. Um, I still have two spools left of it, and I'm like, do I just throw these out now? I'm pretty sure I just throw these out.
Yeah.
But
I,
I,
I've never tried printing with ABS or ASA. I have a roll,
mhm.
but I haven't tried printing with it yet. Because the only enclosure I have is one of those Creality tents. I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll actually do. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it inside though. Like if your printer's in your living room or something like that, you
Uh,
probably would just want to avoid it because um, once you open the tent, you're still gonna like you'll get a nice smell for a while.
Yeah.
Or keep it like if you keep it close to a window or something and then open the tent. Um,
I live in an apartment, so
mm,
it's like
do you have any good neighbors that would let you set your printer up in their bathroom?
put it on the balcony because I know it's not going to rain.
Yeah, I mean that honestly that would work. Like I use that the art like it was insulating foam. It's about
the,
a
the thick blue stuff.
no, it's black stuff with it
Black.
with a shiny aluminum.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I used that and like my core temperature in the chamber by the time it prints is over 70, right? So for something held together with duct tape and hope, it works really good.
Yeah.
Every now and again, I have to replace the duct tape on the door, but like those Creality ones will work just fine for it. If you have ASA as well, that one you could probably print in your apartment. If
That
you have
ASA
it,
is not too bad.
yeah. ABS is just you're not going to like the styrene gas that releases from it is usually when it's burning, for one, right? Not at printing temperatures, but it does it's odoriferous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's there. Let's see. Stig says not sure about their ABS, but eSun PLA Plus and PETG are cheap and really good. And I'm sure about their ABS because I have a few rolls of their ABS and actually spool ABS, and they like so the spool and the eSun. I would say they print very similarly. They both print fantastic. And eSun, it's a brand that surprised me too, right? Because usually I was like, this is probably just going to be a terrible like chip from China filament, but it wasn't. It was actually pretty good to print with. Is most of your stuff spool Ray for ABS or?
No, I got some off brands as well, especially if I'm looking for a certain color that spool doesn't carry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was looking when I built my Voron. I was looking for a nice kind of hot pink color. And
Yeah.
of course, we didn't have a pink at all.
Yeah.
We are getting a nice pink for that, so I went with Overture.
Okay, yeah, Overture is good.
Overture is my other go-to filament, whether it's PLA, PLA Plus, ABS, PETG.
Yep.
We kind of think that their filament is made in the same factory as Spool's filament is.
Okay. I see not only Overture, but I saw on Amazon that they have their basics PLA back.
Uh-oh.
So they like the Overture filament is definitely the same spool as the Amazon Basics filament. Definitely, there's no denying that it's the same filament. But it's $32 a roll now for PLA from them, and
That's the same price as Spools.
yeah, and I think the Overture one was still a little bit cheaper, wasn't it? Like it was under 30.
It can be, yeah, 28 to 30, I think, usually.
Yeah. They vary, but yeah, they're usually just a bit under. And now, I mean, we see lots of filament manufacturers do this, which is kind of ironic, but they've been switching to like either the composite wood ground up wood spool or the cardboard to make the difference for the environment. But I'm like, you realize you're shipping a kilogram of plastic, right? On
Yeah.
this spool. And of that kilogram of plastic, if it's going to somebody that can't like actually or doesn't know 100% what they're after to start with, probably half of that spool is going to be waste.
Yeah.
Well, they figure out when they want to print. So
Yeah.
it's kind of ironic, but I mean, I get it. Manufacturers have to do their, or have to be close to net zero and all that stuff. And the other one that I like to print is that Polymaker.
Hmm.
It's really nice, but the price on that has gone up to about $40 a spool.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. What brands do you like, Dominic?
I've been finding that staying as close to home as possible has made printing better.
Mm,
Trying to use domestic stuff. I use Coex
okay.
out of Michigan. Printed solid. I think they're from
Hmm.
somewhere.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
down there. Yeah.
And I'm they're a little more expensive, like $3 as opposed to like 20 for over.
Hmm.
Um, and if you order more than 2 spools, it's free shipping. So that's
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have. I mean, most of the Canadian guys. I don't think. Now, I might be wrong in this statement, and Ray might know better than I too, so he might have to interrupt this statement. But as far as I know, there's only one company in Canada that actually makes filament.
There's one in Alberta, one in BC, and I believe there's one in Ontario as
Okay,
well.
so there's three. So like we don't, and in the States, I think Printed Solid makes their own, and then you have Proto Pasta, and there's a couple other ones that names escape me, but um,
Coex makes their own.
Coex does too. Okay, see, and that's cool because then you can buy straight from the source, and it probably makes it a bit easier to find like a higher quality filament per
Yeah.
se, question mark. Like, so one of my favorite filaments to print with still is like spool, because one, it's like they are local to me, but like I think it comes from China, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is we want to get it made in Canada, but
Mhm.
the manufacturers that make filament in Canada can't produce all the colors that we have. We have
Yeah.
over 100 colors
Yeah.
of PLA, and they just can't do it.
Well, and,
I think filaments.ca, I think they make their own. But
yeah, they have their own, and so does Digit Maker. Digit Maker has like a budget line that I think they make their own or source. But like one of the things with filaments, if you're doing like large print projects, and I know we can probably all attest to this, is like we could use Overture as an example. You could get a pink, hot pink from Overture, and then you run out and you're like, okay, I need hot pink from Overture again. And you get it, and it's slightly different pink.
Yeah.
The hues change, and like, and Ray had that point where like the local companies in Canada couldn't like match, one, produce the amount of colors, but two, they probably couldn't guarantee like a Pantone or like a
Right.
color match too. So I mean,
I find that whenever I do that I have problems with the colors, like, and that's why I don't use a filament runout sensor, because every time, if the color is important, then I had to do a filament change. The
yeah,
color didn't match, even if it's the same manufacturer and same color from that manufacturer.
yeah.
Still different enough that you can tell where the filament change happened.
That's an interesting problem, and it can be a couple things, but like, oh, we lost him again. He'll be back. He'll be back. I've noticed on some PLA, especially like a multicolor PLA, like that tricolor stuff.
Yep.
that when you're printing and when you do a filament change, if you do your filament change and the temperature drops too much, the filament's actually a different color until the temperature equalizes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that could be something that, and it's too bad he dropped but I think that could be one of the contributing factors to that problem more than like, because if it's just a brief moment, and the other thing too is layer height. Like, have you played with like the variable layer height features in like Prusa? And
No, I haven't. No.
if you use them, they work really well. Like, you know those like articulated geckos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I print them, I usually use the variable height when right at the top where the head kind of starts crowning,
Yeah.
so that they're smaller layer heights. But what happens is they look darker
Right.
because there's more of them. And so like
Yeah.
silk filaments hide that really well. Like the last one I did was in that tricolor red, blue, whatever.
Green.
Yeah, yeah, and it hit it perfectly. But if you print like a straight like color, you'll notice the change in layer height because of the color. Kind of gets darker. Kind of gets darker. The stick says filament from different batches can have slightly difference in color. Yeah, you're not wrong. But
Yeah.
I think like that's where like Pantone delivery and having computers automate as much as that like process so that you're not just like getting somebody scooping like, okay, here's my raw white PLA, bloop,
Yeah.
and two
Exactly.
scoops of pink, right? If you can
Yeah.
automate that process. I mean, Prusa does. I don't know if you've ever watched the tour that Prusa gave of his factory where like he does filament and the printers. But yeah, his computers color match
Yeah.
all the stuff going in, and then they actually send it through an optical sensor to make sure that like everything looks okay, and then they'll spool it.
Right.
But um, but they also give you like a little sticker of this was verified from this batch from this day, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool, right? Kind of neat. But
Yeah. On spools, there's actually a batch number as well.
oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be good to know if, like Steak said, if you were if you were intent on 100% color match, try to buy from the same batch. I guess would be the lesson there.
Yeah. We've
Yeah.
the stuff at spool. All our regular colors are all Pantone colors.
Yeah.
Obviously, the silks and stuff like that, they can't do it just because it's the nature of the filament.
Mm-hmm.
But all the regular colors are Pantone. We, as a company, are guaranteed
Yeah.
that it may be 0.1 of a shade up or 0.1 of a shade down.
So there's tight tolerance there.
Very tight tolerance. Yeah.
That's great because I think that's more important. Like so the heat color changing thing could happen from your printer. That's just how it works, right? The layer thing, but like if they can guarantee that tolerance between batches, that's really good, really really good. Um, so I was gonna talk a little bit about the Sprite extruder from Creality. Do you guys know that one? The
I do.
Sprite.
I haven't really played with it
Yeah, let's see if I
very
can
much.
bring up a screenshot of what it looks like. And uh, so why is it blue? There we go.
Why is it blue?
Yeah, like there's like they tinted the whole picture of it blue, and I'm like that
Oh.
makes no sense. Here we go. Okay, so
Right.
this is what the Sprite looks like. This is what we're talking about right now. And I don't know if yeah it does. This black and white picture here, you can see these two itty bitty wires,
Yeah.
and they come out and they plug into this itty bitty breakout board. And the first thing I said to Greg when we opened this extruder was, I hope they sell these itty bitty wires. Because like so that one is your thermistor, one is your heater cartridge.
Yeah.
And they both go back into the breakout board, and then that gets plugged in with this ribbon cable here. But so they're right here, and it's interesting in this render, but you can't actually push them out. They slide in, but they don't have a hole on the other side. So we had the thermistor break on one. The
Victor.
one when the fellow was putting it in, the wires accidentally got broken on that thermistor, and I was like, well, I guess we're gonna find out if we can actually look at all those ads. That's crazy. Sorry. I guess we're gonna find out if we can order the parts, which it turns out you can, but to get that little thermistor out, we had to drill it,
Yes.
right?
It's whatever compound they got in there that keeps
Yeah.
that stuff in there.
And ironically speaking, if you could bring it to temperature, I think you could probably slide it out somehow. But since
Maybe,
the thermistor
yeah.
was broken, you couldn't bring it to temperature anyway, because it was
Yeah.
like thermal runaway, thermal runaway. However, I will give this little guy a great review. I might do a quick video on it, but like it's an all-in-one. It does work very, very well. I think we paid about $115
Yeah.
for ours, roughly, but it's an all-metal choke. But yeah, the second I saw it, I was like, these two little wires are the weak point,
Yeah.
right? Because like the ribbon cable has this little harness doohickey right here.
That clips in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so other than like the only problem was these two little cables, and you can order them. There's two different versions of this extruder. There's a pro and a not pro. The not pro isn't high temp, whereas the pro is high temp.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
one of these is the thermistor changes too, but it doesn't really matter on an ender, because if you're going to print really hot, I mean, there's other things you'd have to do before you have to worry about the little wire.
Corality uses that Sprite on a lot of their new machines.
Hmm.
The S1 series mostly.
Yeah, I was going to say it's on the S1. There is one. So let's see if I can. Reality. Don't pay attention to the news. Okay. Just want to bring it up here. There we go. So yeah, it's on the S1, and you can see on the S1. Can I actually make that big? Yes, I can. It has, so like, I think all of us have Ender 3s or have had, but like you can see how the wings, they kind of like see
Hmm.
at the ends there. That's the other problem on our regular Enders. If you install this as is, it bats into the normal Ender X gantry, and so then you change the screws and stuff. But other than like those two things, those little wires are right there, right there,
Yeah.
and you can see like if you were to use the wrong stuff and baff it into the end, it could hook and
Break
damage
off,
as
yeah.
well. So it's still a great extruder. Don't get me wrong. It's one of those things where I'm not sure if the engineering team got the whole memo. They got build extruder. Anything special about that direct drive? So it uses a pancake motor, which makes it lighter, and then it does lighten up some of the cooling system. It uses that little aluminum cage to hold the fan instead of like a big, um, uh, instead of that big box that used to be there. So it is actually pretty light.
I think it has a 3-to-1 gear ratio, doesn't it, as well?
It does as well. Yeah.
Not your regular 1-to-1.
Yeah. And so your E steps on this little guy, too, when you set it up, they recommend 424 millimeters per second, which actually works pretty good. Works really good. I was over extruding. I had it set at 475 because that's what I measured. But then I'm like, I'm just going to go back to what they recommended, and it actually worked pretty good. But yeah, I guess the special things, direct drive, 3-to-1 gear ratio. The cooling system is lighter, and it does have ready mounting for either a CR Touch or a BL Touch. So like the actual chassis is built to have one of those two things on it if you wish. There is a little cable that comes with this too, that the CR Touch just plugs into that breakup board
Right.
or the BL Touch. So everything everything on that thing plugs in at the breakout board on the back, which we saw. What was that one brand? No, I can't. I'm not going to be able to remember it. But they had a breakout board to start with, but they didn't support the ribbon cable with that little harness clip, so it would always break.
Break off.
I can't remember. It'll come to me by the time the stream's over, and then I'll put it in Discord. So
That's the
I mean-
Anycubic Viper, wasn't it? That did that?
the Viper, yeah, that was one. Yeah, that was it. The Viper. I'm not bad mouthing them. I'm just saying like it did it.
Yeah.
So, but that's what's special about it. I would definitely recommend it on an Ender 3 or a Creality machine if you're looking at like a direct drive unit that's not super expensive. There's what's the other one? There's a Micro Swiss hot end that looks very similar to this, except the motor's off the side. It's like an NG something.
Yeah, it's called the NG.
Oh wow, nailed it! But it's a good hot end too. It has mounting points and such. Let's see. Stig says the only thing is the orientation of the motor. The overhang could wear those wheels. It could. You're not wrong.
But it doesn't.
No.
We have an NG on my wife's machine, and it's been on there probably 8 months, and it shows no sign of wear on anything.
Yeah. And like, I mean, you could say the same thing. Like, when you think about how all of these hot or direct drive, like even the Hemera and like the H1, they all mount to the front of that plate, which means all the weight is on the front of the plate anyway.
Yeah.
So like, will it wear faster than a Bowden setup? Probably. But do they wear faster than other direct drive setups? I don't think so. I think Ray's right. Like, I've been running an H1 on one of the printers I've had, and the wheels are good. It's been about 2 years, right? So, if you're worried about that, though, you can get those Polycarb Calm or Polycarb Palm wheels.
Yeah, the clear ones.
Yeah, and they will wear a lot less, and they're a little stiffer on the rails. Stick, I converted my printers for cheap using the V6 from Triangle Lodge printer chart. Works like a charm. It has the motor close to the center of the axis. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, so I guess this comes down to like practical, like real world, right? Because like on paper, absolutely correct, right? In theory, the center of gravity shifts a little bit, so it could pull the wheels. In practice, the 6 grams that aren't over the center properly, you know,
Not going to make a difference.
not going to make a difference. If you are worried of such things, this one is very, very, very light, though. The Sprite is super light.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet it's lighter than the. So Stig says he's using a Triangle Lab V6 and some printed parts. I'd be willing to bet this is lighter than that because of the switch out in the motor.
Yeah.
It's closer to the size of a, oh goodness, LDL orbiter motor.
The order. Yeah.
Yeah, which is also it's actually really similar. It hangs over the edge by default in lots of its configurations. But I must push a button. My screen's gonna change here. One sec. See, I'm still here though. Everybody, thank you. So we have Dominic, Stig, and Ray. Currently online, I think. But thanks everybody for being on the list. You guys are awesome. You make the good things happen. And then, as Ray always reminds me, because I forget, like, share, subscribe. And even more now, I've started noticing in our console that we are being affected a bit by some of the new algorithm changes. So even more like sharing is great.
Yeah.
But so next week we're still gonna try to make it just to wander around Maker Faire a bit in Calgary. So we'll be there. I think we decided to go the first day.
What day is that?
I think it's the Saturday. Just let me double check. But we were gonna go in the morning, and then we were gonna like do like a lunch or something. if people wanted to come, and that we'll pop all the stuff in the Discord. That's the word. 13th, yeah, the Saturday is, yeah, it's the Saturday before Mother's Day. It's kind of a weird day to have the event, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out. We've never been, so see what it's about. We didn't want to do a whole booth. That seemed like a lot of work.
We didn't either. That's the same thing.
Yeah, it's like what are we gonna? Well, I mean, power to all the people that have booths, but like I don't think a booth is for us. I think we'd rather wander.
Yeah.
But so next week, guys, next week we're going to start. Okay, it's Mother's Day, so that might change the live stream. So it might be a week after. But the next time we're back for live stream, we're going to start our Clipper firmware, kind of like we did the Marlin one. We are still looking for Pi alternatives. That's the word. We're looking for good Pi alternatives. We have the Le Potato on the list. We have the Orange Pi 3, the long-term support edition on the list. We steered away from the Asus because it's $300. And you might as well buy a Pi for 200 to run your Octoprint if you're going to do that, right? And then there was one more company we were just waiting to hear back from. So
Big Tree Tech has one as well.
I saw that, and we might try. We'll probably have to buy that one to get it quickly enough, right? But I did see that Big Tree Tech did have like a full-out Pi replacement now, and it looks like people are having success with flashing stuff to it. So, yeah, there it is, the BTT Pi. So we'll see if we can't grab it from Amazon or something to get it quick. But I'd like to say thank you, friends, for coming to the Patreon live stream, though. It was a pleasure. Dominic, thanks for coming. Sorry about the tech problems. Right?
Oh, that's all my end.
It's not a live stream unless something doesn't work. And this time it was your turn.
Yeah.
So
By the way, my daughter's laptop just finished up.
the Windows just in time. But yeah, thanks Ray for coming and Stig for hanging out in the chat. Next week or next time we'll pick up where we're going. I'm gonna hit end stream, which will leave us on, and Stig was in the chat, so he won't be on anymore. So until next time, fare thee well.
Bye.